Arriving in my mission was a really crazy experience. It's a fun story because, I was in Columbus, Ohio, right, where it was in the dead of winter that I received my visa. So the day I left, it was -1, on the thermometer. It was cold. So I left there and then I came down to Brazil where it was 80 degrees and like 90% humidity or something like that. So that temperature change was the first big shock that I felt when I came to Brazil. And then after that, just seeing this new culture, all these different people, all of them communicating in a different language that at that point I really didn't know because I just spent 6 months only speaking English and not focusing on Portuguese whatsoever. So I showed up to our mission. I remember I was with a bunch of other Americans. There was one American that actually visa waited for a longer time than me. He waited for about 9 months in the United States. And so he thought he wasn't even going to get his visa. But anyway, we showed up together and we both just looked at each other like, dude, Elder, what have we gotten ourselves into? This is crazy. And then as we came down the escalators and we met our president, the assistants. I remember there was one American assistant, Elder Peterson. He had been down there in Brazil for a while and he was just speaking rapid fire Portuguese, just spoke it really well. And I remember that was my first impression of just being amazed by that. I'm like, he's American? Doesn't even sound like one. And at that moment, it was inspiring. It was like, it's okay. I'm going to learn the language. Here's a fellow American. He's speaking it. He's speaking just as fast as anybody else. So I got this. I can learn this language. But yeah, the culture was very different. Everything was different. That part of Brazil is a little bit more third world. Nothing wrong with that. I loved that. Everything was simple. And there is so much beauty in simplicity that as we were driving to the mission office, we would pass through a lot of kind of the poorer part of town as we were going there, and it was humbling to just come from Ohio. I just served in an area that had quite a bit of money there outside of Columbus, a suburb that was doing all right. And so that was a big change too, just seeing these differences in the environments and what people are living with. But I really liked it. It was really interesting. I'm from Hawaii, and there are a lot of similarities between that part of Brazil and where I lived in Hawaii. So in a weird sort of way, it was kind of like going home. But those are some of the first impressions I had. And also just how easy it was to talk to people. People talk to each other down in Brazil. I mean, here in America, we're kind of in this smartphone culture where we can't communicate with people very well. Where it's easier for us to text each other. Well, down in Brazil, they don't really do that. I mean, they have text messaging and stuff, but in general, people are just much more connected, and it's so much easier to talk with people, and they converse with you, and they open themselves up and actually will tell you things about their lives. And so I just thought that was really interesting too, how the people in general are just much more receptive. And I saw that the Brazilians are very friendly people, especially in that part of the country. If I hear stories that if you go to southern Brazil, people are a little bit more European, a little bit more American down there, where they're kind of a little bit more standoffish. That's what I hear. I don't really know. But at least in Belem, I know that people are very friendly, and it's very easy to talk to them. So my first area, I went out about 8 hours by bus. No, it was 15 hours by bus. It took 15 hours on kind of a big Greyhound bus to get to my first area, Cana dos Carajás, and it was beautiful out there. I remember the assistant that I was just mentioned, Elder Peterson, he actually served in that area, and he told me about it when I got called there. He said, Elder Marler, this area, as you go out there, this is going to be like Book of Mormon country. That as you're going out there, it's just going to be rolling plains and forests, green hills, green mountains. Everything's going to be green and alive. And you're going to be on this funny little dirt road. And it was funny because as we were in the bus, there were a lot of points where the road would get kind of steep because you're going along the rims of hills and such. And there were a lot of points where I was like, oh my gosh, this bus is going to flip over and we're going to fall off the road and die. Doesn't work out that way though. Brazilians are pretty boss at driving. They know what they're doing down there. But we showed up to our first area, which is funny. It's this big city in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere, this city. I was like, why is this even here? And it turns out that it was a gigantic gold mine that was constructed out in the middle of this wilderness. And so the city was built around it. So these are some of the first people that I was meeting. It was this big mining town. And the people are so friendly. It was amazing. Especially, foreigners like me and my trainer. My trainer he's Brazilian, but he was from southern Brazil, so he was basically a celebrity too, because that was really interesting to them to meet a southerner. And then here I am, an American, in the middle of the state of Pará, 15 hours away from the giant metropolis that generally people go to. And so everyone's just curious, like, what is this American doing here? In Cana dos Carajás, like in the middle of this funny little city in the middle of nowhere. And people just open themselves up so much to hear our messages. And that was pretty much a general trend. Everywhere I went, people were open to us. They were ready to receive our message. They were at least willing to talk to us. Not everybody is going to receive the message, and any future missionary that's listening to this, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be easy. Not everyone's going to listen to your message, but, everyone's willing to at least chat with you and talk to you, and that can be refreshing too.